SWEGTA!
Hey everybody, so first off, I know this is normally not the type of video that I do on this channel. Fret not, I have plenty of bully and rockstar videos in the making. This is not going to be like a vlog channel from here on out. I'm sure some of you remember that I did go through a pretty rough period in my life where I was drinking heavily and I was very unhappy. And over the years I've learned a lot. I think a big part of it has been gradually maturing and learning from past mistakes, but also learning to live with some of the pain from the past. Not by accepting it, but by processing it in healthier ways. You know, for a long time I drank heavily because I didn't know how to deal with that. I thought, or at least I deluded myself into thinking that being in loud spaces with other drunk people around me was a way to alleviate the pain that I was going through. When in actuality, all I was doing was postponing the inevitable collapse of my life. It's a horrible place to be in, and I don't think anybody goes through that willingly. I think it's an act of desperation. It was something that I did because I just wanted to stop thinking about my childhood. I wanted to stop thinking about mistakes that I've made or things that I really didn't like about myself. But here's the thing, I don't want this entire, and by the way, this is an energy drink, so just don't, before you freak out and you're like, he's holding a can. It's a Power King. Still bad for you, you shouldn't drink this. It's probably gonna rot you from the inside, but hey, you know, it's just caffeine and liquid sugar. Anyway, jokes aside, I don't want this video to come off as this kind of like woe is me, boo-hoo, feel sorry for Swag type of deal. I want there to be a positive message to come out of all this. And the positive message is that I strongly believe that if I can overcome not only just being stuck in this pit of despair, but also overcome the excessive drinking, I believe strongly that other people have that ability too. And knowing that there are thousands of people who follow me on YouTube, odds are there is somebody out there watching this video who struggles with exactly the stuff that I'm talking about. And to that person, I just want to say that I know that it's easier said than done. I know that life can be agonizing, but it's still very much possible to climb out of that. I firmly believe that. So you might be wondering, okay, well, how did you do that, Swag? How did you find a healthier path in life? The first step was to I promised myself I'm gonna go 1 year, at least 1 year, totally sober. I permitted myself to smoke cigarettes, but that was it. Just tobacco, nothing else. I actually managed to do it, and I felt better and better. And then after a year, I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna drink occasionally now. It occurred to me that the only thing that causes is I not only feel bad, not just physically, but also emotionally the day after and several days following that. But all it really does besides that is distract me from ambitions that I have in life, from things that I actually really care about, like my friends and family. You know, this YouTube comeback that I'm doing now, it would not have been possible had I been continuously distracted by alcohol. And the same thing goes for, let's just call it totally legal tobacco. Alright, so those were my two vices. And I just want to make it clear, if you partake in one or the other or both, that's totally your call. It's your body, your choice, whatever you want to do with it, your health. It's up to you. I'm just saying that it's not for me. It's not something that brings me any joy, even creatively speaking. I've tried. You know, like I'll smoke some legal tobacco, or maybe I'll have a few beers, and then I'll work on some music, and the day after I'll just wake up, press play, and I'm like, oh my god, what have I done? What is this? If it makes me sad, if it makes me exhausted, if it totally hinders any progress that I want to make as far as my creative expression goes, what is there to be gained? And like I said, it also distracted me from relationships in my life. My love life could have been healthier had I stayed sober. I think the same thing applies to friendships and family. A lot of mistakes were made, and my life was falling apart for quite a while. Even to this day, you know, like the place that I live in now, it's not a good place. The people who live here are not healthy, they're not well. You know, like I've been threatened by neighbors, I've had neighbors steal from me. I've had one neighbor like screaming and shrieking outside of my door, talking about how he's gonna make an attempt on my life. You know, I've talked to the landlord about this, and nothing really came of it. It's just like, okay, well, I'll talk to him. I'll tell him to calm down. It's like, no, you should probably just kick this guy out, but it is what it is. So the point is, I would not be living here had it not been for me slipping down this path where I just spent day in and day out drinking and feeling miserable. I just ended up surrounding myself with people who did not have my best interest at heart. People who, even when I told them, like, hey, I don't feel good about this life that I'm living, I want to get sober and just focus on that, they would still pressure me into drinking. They would still be like, oh, no, I'll pay for it. Or, oh, you know, you're way more fun to be around when you're wasted. Because there's a natural kind of like drunken charm to that. Compliment or not, you totally should not say that to somebody who's telling you up front, like, I don't feel good about this, I want to get clean. You don't incentivize that person into drinking. And of course, I do bear responsibility for my own actions. I want to make that clear. Like, I'm not putting the blame on those people. I'm just saying that my choices led me to be surrounded by people who pressured me into staying in that life. So what happened? How did I get out of it? Well, again, the first thing that I did was just get sober. I realized that it's not worth it. Number one, it's expensive. Alcohol in Sweden, at least, it's pretty costly. And number two, which I guess should be first and foremost, it's bad for you. When I wake up in the morning the day after I've had any alcohol, doesn't matter how much, it could be a small amount, I just wake up feeling physically bad and emotionally even worse. And it's not just a day after type of deal. Like, for several days throughout the week, I will feel bad about it. So again, sobriety is the first step. Beyond that, you have to cut ties with people who don't really prioritize your well-being, at least as much as they should. It's something that you have to do if you want to maintain a healthy outlook on life and more so a healthy lifestyle. Step number 3 was making up a plan, and that plan consisted of me getting a job first off, and I did. I got a job as a postal worker. I worked at this company for a couple of years or so. I was eventually let go, not because I did anything wrong. I was actually offered a different job in another town. They wanted to save money, and they wanted to consolidate a lot of the districts that they had in the town that I worked in, so they're like, okay, well, we're gonna remove like half of the staff at this company. I was included in that. But again, they did offer me a job after the fact, and I considered it, but then I decided I'm going to try to find something else because I want to get more experience. And so for a short while, I worked in renovation. I did learn a lot from this company, though, and I ended up moving to a different job along with one of my colleagues. I worked in roofing, and I want to enunciate that because I don't want it to sound like I got paid roofing people. No, roofing. So, laying roof tiles. That was my gig for a while. I had a lot of fun doing it, and likewise, I learned a lot from this. I think the main thing that it did was build up a lot of confidence, which it slowly occurred to me that throughout my career on YouTube, I've occasionally been arrogant, and a lot of that is tied to a lack of confidence. You know, like, oftentimes people look at arrogance and they think, like, oh, okay, well, this is somebody who's, like, above average in confidence. No, usually that stems from being insecure. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm gesticulating at the audience, like, insecure. Sorry. But again, this job did instill a decent amount of confidence in me, which helped me process a lot of the stuff that I was talking about just a minute ago, like the pain throughout my life that I had endured that had just stuck with me all those years. The job itself was also really healthy for me because I got plenty of exercise and fresh air. You know, oftentimes when I see somebody in the YouTube comment section just being mean for the sake of being mean, I get the suspicion that that person probably doesn't get out much. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I shouldn't make those kind of presumptions about people, but to me it just seems like somebody who has a life outside of sitting at the computer all day would probably not feel the need to put other people down anonymously via a comment section or a chat room, but that's just a suspicion that I have. Another part of my plan is getting the hell out of here, because like I said, the neighbors that I have are pretty horrible to live with. They don't shower, they don't know how to take care of themselves, they don't do anything as far as working goes. Some of them are just straight up unbalanced and highly aggressive, so I'd like to get the hell out of here ASAP. So how am I gonna do this? Well, dedication. I'm going to be focusing to the best of my abilities, at least, on making good content at a consistent rate. You know, these things take time, but I've already started noticing that, okay, you know, day in and day out, I'm not concerned about, like, okay, do I have enough money to feed myself? Do I have enough money to pay for this or that? Now it's like, okay, I'm fine. It's a pretty solid foundation to build something on. And I think as long as I stay consistent and I focus on enjoying myself and entertaining the audience, again, to the best of my abilities, I don't have the ability to read minds. You know, occasionally I'll put out a video, it'll be somewhat of a dud in terms of views, but for the most part, I do okay. I'm doing way better than I thought I would, because for a long time I took this hiatus, where, again, I was focusing on getting some work experience, I was focusing more on taking care of myself, learning from past mistakes, maturing as I go along, and I didn't feel like doing YouTube at that moment was a wise thing to do. One step at a time is what I'm getting at. But at this point, I am sober. I am focused. I am ambitious. I'm happy. You know, I'm surrounded by people that care about me and wish the best for me. And I think as I get closer and closer to being in my 30s, I'm 28 now, by the way, not quite there yet. I still have like a year and a half left of being in my 20s, so it's like, yeah, it's gonna end soon, but yeah. But as I was saying, as I'm getting closer to being in my 30s, it occurs to me that, you know, you have to mature at some point. You can't just engage in the same type of lowbrow, edgy humor that you did when you were like 20. Maybe I'm a bit too concerned about my age. Maybe I shouldn't be thinking about it all that much, because again, 28 is like, whatever, you're not old. I just want to emphasize that there comes a point where you have to look at your behavior and ask yourself, is this becoming of a person of my age and experience? And I would say that the way that I behaved, say, 5 years ago even, no. I think that's also been a big part of it, is just maturing. You have to do that at some point. You can't continuously engage in self-pitying and blaming the world for being unfair, because, yeah, I mean, you should feel bad for yourself on occasion. Bad things happen to everybody, and the world is an unjust and horrible place at times, but there's also a lot of beauty in life. And I think taking accountability for the course of your life, at least to some extent, is a prime ingredient in learning from it. So, the plan is continue being sober, focus on this YouTube thing, and enjoy life. Go outside, meet up with friends and family, engage in fun activities that don't involve alcohol. Just go out there, enjoy yourself, because life is finite. And to be totally frank and blunt about it, I don't want to end up like the people living here. I don't want to spend the rest of my days in this horribly depressing environment, living in a rat-infested shithole. I don't want to spend the rest of my life living here.
Get out of here. Get the f*** out of here. Piece of shit.
I want to make my friends and family and even my audience proud. I want to do things that actually matter. And I can't do any of that if I'm distracted and made to feel numb by those vices. I'm happier now than I've ever been, despite the fact that I've made a lot of mistakes that cost me a lot. And the reason for that is because now I have a far more nuanced and informed and experienced perspective on these topics and how to deal with all this stuff. The way by which I clawed and climbed and dragged myself out of the ditch of depression that I was in for several years was by learning from it, was by actually examining my behavior, the actions that I take, the company that I surround myself with, and discerning what it is that makes me tick, what it is that holds me back, and what it is that actually gives me purpose in life. And what gives me purpose is doing exactly this, being open about my experiences and talking to people about that in a healthy and productive way. So, I do want to make it clear, this video is not made to make people feel bad for me. I don't think you should. What I want is for people to be proud of me. And, you know, I can't control that. Maybe some people feel disappointed in me because of the choices that I've made throughout life, but I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of the fact that I overcame this. I didn't attend any AA meetings. I didn't, you know, go up in the mountains and find God or anything. I just looked at my life, and I closely examined and thought about what it is that I want out of life, and how do I get to that point. The nights that I spent surrounded by loud music and obnoxious drunk people, because I thought in those moments, okay, well, I don't feel pain right now, So this must be just naturally what I want to do, but it's not. It's a distraction. As soon as I left those parties, as soon as I was on my way home, I felt more alone than I ever had in my entire life. But nowadays, I don't attend any of that. I don't get invited to it anymore because the people that used to invite me to that, I've told them I don't want anything to do with that kind of life or those people. And that was a difficult choice to make because some of those people, yeah, I would consider them friends at that point, but you gotta look out for number one. The way that I view life is a little bit like those annoying but still valid little safety guides that they give you on flights, you know, where they tell you, in the event of a crash landing, the oxygen mask pops down. Adjust your mask before helping the person next to you. Because the risk is that you'll pass out if you don't do that, and then you can't help the person next to you. That's the way I kind of view life. You have to make sure that you have everything that you need to be okay. And then from that point on, you can help other people. And eventually I realized that if I continued having that kind of company in my life, that would only set me back time and time again, because I knew from experience that's exactly what happens. Diabetes. So, this has been quite the unusual video for this channel. I appreciate you listening, if you made it all the way to the end, by the way. If there's one thing that I want to make clear, it's that this is not going to be like a regular thing on my channel, where I'm like, you know, day whatever of sobriety. Here's me vlogging about that for the millionth time. This is just a, you know, an occasional thing that I might do just to kind of give people some insight into how my life is going and what it is that I'm focused on. I think human beings are capable of a lot of amazing things, and the drastic change that I have made in my life, while it may not necessarily be described as amazing, it is still a drastic change that I made on my own. I didn't go to rehab. I didn't go through some huge spiritual journey. I didn't have somebody holding my hand throughout all of that. It's a choice that I made by closely looking at the factors that made up the problems in my life and asking myself, okay, well, what is it that I want out of life, and how do I get to that point? So if you want to do the same, get a plan going. First and foremost, you have to have something in mind, some kind of path you can go through. It doesn't have to be step-by-step thought out, but there has to be some kind of general direction you're heading in that shapes some of the choices you make on a day-to-day basis. Like, will I drop by the liquor store today? No, because that totally contradicts the plan that I have. Easier said than done, I know, but it's not impossible. Not to repeat myself, but if I can do that, then you can. I firmly believe in that. And by the way, if you want to tell me in the comments what you make of all this, whether you're proud of me or disappointed in me, whatever the case is, let me know, because I do want to have an open dialogue about this. I think it's important to destigmatize these kind of things, not normalize, but destigmatize. And I think the best way to go about this is to have, again, like I said, an honest and open conversation about it, where we don't pass judgment on people, we don't encourage people either. We just talk about the topic as it is, and we make an honest and sincere attempt at learning from the discourse. Anyways, that's it for this video. You folks, as always, stay classy. Peace. Special thanks to my channel members for supporting what I do here on YouTube. Volts, Chinese, Riley Hu, Wardog1220, 8baller10, Ben Struble, Zarpies, Dylan Newt, Kobham Iyoita, Yippee, The Synth Scream Collective, Golden Stripes, and Jake Johnson. If any of you would like to have your names read at the end of my videos just like this, then please consider becoming a channel member. Thank you and have an awesome day. Peace out.